The halls of the Galactic Federation were made of crystal that sang when light passed through it. Ambassador Yuna Park walked slowly through these halls, her shoes making soft sounds on the polished floor. She had walked this path many times in the 3 years since humanity joined the Federation. But she still felt small here. Everything was built for beings much larger and much older than humans. Yuna stopped at a window and looked out at the city of Valora. Towers of silver and gold rose into a purple sky. Ships flew between buildings like metal birds. This was the heart of galactic civilization, home to 12 ancient species who had traveled the stars for thousands of years. And humanity was the youngest of them all. A Lorian diplomat passed by and nodded politely at Yuna. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were the color of sunset. The Lorians were known for their medical technology. They could cure diseases that humans had never even named. When humanity first joined the Federation, the Lorians had gifted them cures for cancer, for heart disease, for 100 conditions that had killed millions on Earth. Yuna had thanked them with tears in her eyes. The Lorian diplomat had smiled and said it was nothing. All species shared freely in the Federation. That was the rule. That was how things worked. Far away, on a space station at the edge of Federation territory, Admiral Tae Kang stood on the bridge of his flagship. The ship was called the Soul's Dawn, and it was the pride of the human fleet. Tae looked at it with mixed feelings. By human standards, the Soul's Dawn was magnificent. By galactic standards, it was a toy. "Admiral," said Captain Hannah Lee, stepping up beside him, "the Fenari convoy has passed our position. They send their regards." Tae watched the Fenari ships disappear into the distance. They were beautiful vessels, sleek and fast, capable of crossing the galaxy in days. Human ships took weeks to make the same journey. "Did they say anything else?" Tae asked. Hana hesitated. "They wished us luck with our vintage equipment." Tae laughed quietly. It was not a happy laugh. "They think we are children playing with old toys. Can you blame them, sir? Their civilization is 40,000 years old. Ours barely made it off our own planet." Tae turned to look at his captain. Hana was young, barely 30, but she was sharp. She understood things that many officers missed. He trusted her completely. "Walk with me," he said. They left the bridge and moved through the corridors of the Soul's Dawn. Crew members saluted as they passed. The ship hummed with quiet energy, machines working, systems running, life continuing as it always did in the cold of space. They reached a door marked with a simple sign. "Authorized personnel only." Tae pressed his hand against a scanner, and the door slid open. Inside was a room filled with screens and equipment. Scientists in white coats moved between stations, studying data, running tests. At the center of the room stood Chief Scientist Jun Choi, a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. "Admiral," Jun said, looking up from his work. "I was not expecting you." "How is the project?" Tae asked. Jun glanced at Hana. Tae nodded, giving permission. "We have made progress," Jun said carefully. "The phase displacement system is now stable. We can fire weapons that pass through any known shield technology." Hana's eyes widened. That's impossible," the Fenari said. "Shield technology was perfected centuries ago." "The Fenari were wrong," Jun replied simply. Tae moved to a screen showing complex diagrams. He did not understand most of what he saw, but he understood enough. "What about the gravity drives?" "Functional. We can accelerate at speeds that would kill any unprotected crew. But our inertial dampeners are now advanced enough to protect the crew completely." Jun paused. "Admiral, we have also completed the medical nanobots. They can heal wounds in minutes, regrow limbs in hours." Hana looked between the two men. "Why don't we share this? The Federation law says all technology must be shared freely." Tae and Jun exchanged a long look. "Because some gifts are dangerous," Tae said quietly. On Earth's moon, hidden beneath the gray dust and ancient craters, was a facility that did not officially exist. Project Horizon employed 2,000 scientists, engineers, and researchers. They worked in silence, bound by oaths they would never break. Dr. Nari Yoon was one of them. She was young, brilliant, and deeply troubled by her work. She sat in her small room, looking at the latest test results on her tablet. The neural integration system was complete. A human brain could now connect directly to machines, to networks, to other minds. The possibilities were endless. Communication without words, learning without study, memory without loss. But Nari had also seen the darker tests. She had seen what happened when the system was used as a weapon. She had watched volunteers scream as their minds were torn apart by invisible forces. She put down her tablet and closed her eyes. A message arrived from Earth. President Day One had called another meeting. The question was always the same. When do we reveal ourselves? And the answer was always the same. Not yet. Back on Valora, Yuna attended a celebration hosted by the Keth. They were a plant-like species, gentle and kind, famous for their agricultural technology. They had ended famines on 100 worlds with their gifts. "You humans are so young," said a Keth elder, his leaves rustling as he spoke. "But you have potential. In a few thousand years, you might become a truly advanced species." Yuna smiled and thanked him for his kindness. Inside, she felt the weight of her secret pressing against her chest. The Federation saw humanity as children, weak, primitive, dependent on the charity of their elders. They had no idea what was coming. In his quarters on the Soul's Dawn, Admiral Tae Kang received a coded message from Defense Minister Sora Kim. The message was short. "The Council grows curious. They have noticed our research facilities. We must be careful." Tae deleted the message and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond Federation space, enemies were gathering. The Vreth Empire had been quiet for too long. Intelligence suggested they were building something massive, something terrible. The Federation was not ready. Their weapons were old. Their strategies were older. They had grown comfortable in their ancient power. Humanity could save them. Humanity could protect them. But first, humanity had to be patient. Tae poured himself a drink and sat in the darkness of his room. "Soon," he whispered to no one. "Soon, they will understand." But he knew the truth. When that day came, when humanity finally revealed its strength, the galaxy would not thank them. The galaxy would fear them. And fear always led to anger. He finished his drink and prepared for another day of waiting. Outside his window, the stars burned cold and distant, keeping their own secrets in the endless dark. The distress signal came at midnight, ship time. It cut through the silence of the Soul's Dawn like a knife, pulling Admiral Tae Kang from his first peaceful sleep in weeks. He reached the bridge in 3 minutes. Captain Hana Lee was already there, her face pale in the blue light of the screens. "Report," Tae said, taking his chair. "A Fenari colony ship, sir. The Gentle Wind. 40,000 civilians on board, mostly families." Hana's voice was tight. "They were attacked in Sector 9. By the Vreth." Tae felt his blood go cold. The Vreth Empire had been quiet for decades. They lived beyond Federation space, in the dark regions where no peaceful species traveled. They were cruel, violent, and powerful. "What response?" Tae asked. 3 Federation warships moved to intercept. The Lorian vessel, Starlight, the Keth vessel Greenhome, and the Myrani vessel Swift Justice. Hana paused. "Sir, we lost contact with all 3 ships 7 minutes ago." The bridge went silent. 3 warships, crewed by hundreds of trained soldiers, gone in minutes. "Show me," Tae said. The main screen flickered and displayed sensor data from a nearby Federation station. Tae watched as the 3 warships engaged the Vreth fleet. The Federation ships fired their weapons, bright beams of energy that struck Vreth shields without effect. Then the Vreth returned fire. The Starlight exploded first. Then the Greenhome. The Swift Justice tried to retreat, but a Vreth destroyer caught it from behind. The ship broke apart like glass. 17 Vreth warships, Hana said quietly. "The colony ship is damaged but still moving. They have maybe 20 minutes before the Vreth catch them." Tae looked at his officers. He saw fear in their eyes. Human ships were considered even weaker than Federation vessels. Going against 17 Vreth warships was suicide. "Set a course for Sector 9, Tae said. "Sir." Hana stepped forward. Our ships cannot match the Vreeth. We will die. Set the course, Captain. There was something in his voice that made Hana obey without further question. She gave the order, and the Soul's Dawn turned toward the battle. As they traveled, Tay opened a secure channel to all human ships in the fleet. 6 vessels in total. Small, old, weak by galactic standards. This is Admiral Kang, he said. In 15 minutes, we will engage the Vreeth Empire. You have all trained for this moment. You know what we carry. You know what we can do. He paused. Authorization Code Horizon 7. Protocol 7 is now active. Fight well. Deep within each human ship, hidden systems came alive. Engineers who had waited years for this moment began final preparations. Weapons that had never been fired in real combat powered up. Engines that had been held back revealed their true speed. The Soul's Dawn arrived at Sector 9 first. The Vreeth fleet hung in space like a swarm of black insects, their ships covered in spikes and sharp angles. They had surrounded the Fenari colony ship. Escape pods drifted nearby, carrying families who had fled the dying vessel. A Vreeth commander opened a communication channel. His face appeared on the screen, gray skin stretched over a skull-like head, yellow eyes burning with hunger. Human vessel, the Vreeth said. You are small and weak. Turn back now, and we will let you live. Stay, and you will die with these others. Tay stood from his chair. I am Admiral Tay Kang of the United Earth Fleet. Release the colony ship and surrender. The Vreeth commander laughed. It was an ugly sound, like rocks grinding together. Surrender? Little human, your entire fleet is not worth one of my destroyers. Your species is a joke. Everyone in the galaxy knows this. Tay smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Then let us tell you a different joke, he said. Fire. The battle began. Human weapons fired first. They did not shoot beams of light like Federation weapons. They shot small projectiles, dark and fast, that seemed to disappear as they flew. The Vreeth commander watched with amusement as these tiny objects approached his shields. Then the projectiles passed through the shields as if they did not exist. The first Vreeth destroyer exploded, then the second, then the third. On the Federation observation station, Lieutenant Mira of the Lorians watched in shock. Her instruments must be wrong. Human weapons could not do this. Human ships could not move this fast. But the data did not lie. The Soul's Dawn danced between Vreeth ships like a leaf in the wind. It moved at speeds that should have crushed every person on board. It turned at angles that should have torn the ship apart, and every time it fired, another Vreeth vessel died. The other human ships joined the fight. 6 small vessels against 17 Vreeth warships. The battle should have lasted seconds. With humans as the losers, it lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, the entire Vreeth fleet was gone. Captain Hana Lee stood on the bridge, breathing hard. Her hands were shaking. She had fired weapons that ignored the laws of physics. She had felt her ship move faster than anything she had ever imagined. Admiral, she whispered. What are we? Tay did not answer. He was watching the Fenari colony ship. It was damaged but safe. Escape pods were being collected. Lives were being saved. Sir, said a young officer, we have Vreeth survivors. 17 of them. They were thrown from their ships before the explosions. Bring them aboard, Tay said. Treat their wounds. Their wounds are severe, sir. Lorian medicine might save them, but we do not have. Use Protocol 7 medical systems. Save them all. 3 hours later, the 17 Vreeth prisoners were fully healed. Burns that should have taken months to treat were gone in minutes. Missing limbs had regrown. Internal damage had been repaired completely. The Vreeth prisoners could not understand. Human medicine was supposed to be primitive. Human doctors were supposed to be barely competent. Yet they had been saved by technology beyond anything they had ever seen. On the Federation station, Lieutenant Mira finished her report and sent it to the Council. She attached all sensor data, all recordings, everything she had witnessed. Within hours, the recordings spread across the Federation. Every species saw what had happened. Human weapons that passed through shields. Human ships that moved faster than light. Human medicine that performed miracles. The galaxy had watched humanity for 3 years and seen only weakness. Now, they saw something else entirely. On Valora, Counselor Vorin of the Lorians watched the recordings for the 10th time. His hands trembled as he set down his tablet. "They lied to us," he said to his assistant. "The humans have been hiding technology we cannot even understand. And they never told us." 2000. "What should we do?" his assistant asked. Vorin thought of the Federation laws. The principle of reciprocity. The trust that held 12 species together. "Call an emergency council session," he said. "The humans have some explaining to do." Far away, aboard the Soul's Dawn, Admiral Tay Kang stood alone in his quarters. He knew what was coming. The questions. The anger. The demands. He had saved 40,000 lives today. He had protected the innocent and destroyed the cruel, but he also knew that the galaxy would not thank him. They would fear him. They would hate him, and that was exactly what he had expected. He looked at a picture on his desk. It showed his son, Hyun, still a boy, smiling at the camera. One day, Hyun would inherit this burden. One day, Hyun would understand why his father had kept these secrets. "I hope you can forgive me," Tae whispered. "I hope you can all forgive me." Outside, the stars watched in silence, as they always did. The council chamber was filled with anger. Ambassador Yuna Park could feel it in the air as she walked to the central platform. 12 species watched her from their seats, their holographic forms flickering with barely controlled rage. She had known this day would come. She had prepared for it for 3 years. But nothing could truly prepare a person for standing alone against the entire galaxy. Counselor Vorin spoke first. The Lorian's blue skin seemed darker than usual. His sunset eyes cold. "Ambassador Park," he said, his voice echoing through the crystal hall, "humanity has deceived the Federation. You have hidden technology of extraordinary power. You have violated the most sacred principle of our alliance." Yuna kept her face calm. "Counselor, I understand your concerns. Allow me to explain." "Explain?" Counselor Thala, of the Fenari, interrupted. Her voice was high and sharp, like breaking glass. "We gave you our faster-than-light drives. We taught your engineers. We shared everything. And you gave us nothing." "That is not entirely true," Yuna said. "We shared many things. Agricultural techniques, cultural exchanges, scientific papers, toys," said Counselor Kell of the Mirani. He was a large creature, covered in thick brown fur, with 4 arms that he crossed over his chest. "You gave us toys while hiding weapons that can destroy entire fleets, one by one." The counselors spoke. The Keth accused humanity of breaking trust. The Threen called them liars. The Voss demanded immediate punishment. Yuna listened to all of it. She did not interrupt. She did not defend herself. She simply waited. Finally, Counselor Vorin raised his hand for silence. "The Council has discussed this matter at length," he said. "We have reached a decision. Humanity must share all classified technologies within 30 standard days. Full disclosure. Complete transparency. If you refuse..." He paused. "If you refuse, humanity will be expelled from the Galactic Federation." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Yuna nodded slowly. "I request time to consult with Earth's government." Quote, "You have 3 days," Vorin said. "Use them wisely." Yuna bowed and left the chamber. Her steps were steady, her face showed nothing. But inside, her heart was racing. The journey back to Earth took 18 hours. Yuna spent the time reviewing files, preparing arguments, trying to find a way through the impossible situation. She arrived at the president's office in New Seoul just as the sun was setting. President Daewon was waiting for her, along with Admiral Tae Kang, Chief Scientist Jun Choi, and Defense Minister Sora Kim. They met in a secure room deep underground. No windows. No recordings. Just 5 humans deciding the fate of their species. "They want everything," Yuna said. "Full disclosure. Within 30 days. President Daewon was a quiet man with gray hair and thoughtful eyes. He had led Earth through difficult times before. But this was different. "Walk me through our options," he said. Admiral Tae Kang spoke first. "We could share selectively. Give them some technologies, but keep the most dangerous ones hidden. They will not accept partial disclosure, Yuna replied. They will demand more. And if they discover we are still hiding things, they will never trust us again. Then we share everything, said Sora Kim. She was a practical woman, focused on results. We gain allies. We gain trust. The Federation becomes stronger. Jun Choi shook his head. Minister Kim, you do not understand what we have created. He pulled up files on a screen. Our phase displacement weapons can destroy any target, regardless of shields or armor. In Federation hands, these weapons would end the Vreth threat. But what happens when the Federation falls? What happens when these weapons reach criminals, terrorists, dictators? The Federation has existed for 20,000 years, Sora said. They are stable. So was every empire that ever fell, June replied. The Romans, the British, the American Republic. All of them thought they would last forever. All of them were wrong. Tae Kang pulled up more files. Our gravity drives allow ships to accelerate at speeds that would kill unprotected crews. With our inertial dampeners, this is safe. Without them, it is a weapon. A ship moving fast enough becomes a missile that can destroy planets. The room fell silent. Our neural integration systems, June continued, can connect minds across vast distances. They can heal brain damage. They can restore memories. But they can also be used to control people, to erase their identities, to turn them into slaves. President Day One stared at the files. Each technology was a miracle. Each technology was also a nightmare waiting to happen. What are you recommending? He asked. June looked at him with tired eyes. Mr. President, humanity nearly destroyed itself 3 times before we reached the stars. The first time with nuclear weapons. The second time with climate change. The third time with artificial intelligence that we could not control. We survived because we learned. We learned that some knowledge must be protected. Some power must be limited. The Federation species have not learned these lessons, Tay added. We have watched them for 3 years. They have wars. They have genocides. They have conflicts that they pretend do not exist. They are not ready for what we have built. President Daewon turned to Yuna. Ambassador, what is your assessment? Yuna thought carefully before answering. The Federation sees us as children. They believe they are wiser, more advanced, more mature. But I have walked their halls. I have attended their meetings. I have seen their petty arguments and their hidden hatreds. She paused. They are not better than us. They are simply older. And age does not equal wisdom. The debate continued for hours. They argued about responsibility and trust. They discussed scenarios and consequences. They considered every possible path forward. Finally, as the sun rose over New Seoul, President Daewon made his decision. We refuse, he said. Sora Kim looked shocked. Mr. President, they will expel us. We will lose everything they gave us. The medical technology, the FTL drives. Everything. No, Daewon said. We built copies. We improved them. We do not need their charity anymore. He stood and walked to the window. When I was young, my grandmother told me a story. A village had a well with clean water. A traveler came and asked to share the water. The village agreed. Then the traveler asked for the secret of finding clean water. The village refused. The traveler was angry. He called them selfish, but the village knew the truth. The secret involved poisons. In the wrong hands, it could kill millions. He turned back to face the others. We are that village. We have secrets that could kill billions. We will not share them, no matter the cost. Admiral Tae Kang nodded slowly. The fleet will stand ready. If the Federation turns hostile, we can defend ourselves. Let us hope it does not come to that. Daewon said. Ambassador Park, return to Valora. Deliver our answer, and try to make them understand. Yuna stood. I will do my best, Mr. President. But I do not think they will listen. Then we will wait, Daewon replied. History is long. Minds can change. One day, they may understand. Until then, we will protect them, even from themselves. Yuna bowed and left to prepare for her journey. Behind her, The leaders of humanity sat in silence, carrying a weight that no other species could imagine. They had the power to rule the galaxy. They had the power to end all wars. They had the power to make themselves gods, and they chose, instead, to be guardians. Silent. Misunderstood. Alone. It was, perhaps, the most human decision they could have made. Ambassador Una Park stood once more in the great crystal chamber of the Federation Council. The light that passed through the walls created rainbows on the floor, beautiful patterns that seemed to mock the darkness of the moment. All 12 species were present. Their holographic forms filled the circular room, watching Una with eyes that held no warmth. She was alone on the central platform, a single human against the weight of galactic civilization. Counselor Voran spoke first. Ambassador Park, you have had 3 days to consult with your government. What is Earth's decision? Una took a deep breath. She had practiced this speech 100 times on the journey back to Valora. She had imagined every reaction, every interruption, every angry word, but standing here, in the silence, she felt the full weight of what she was about to do. The United Earth government has carefully considered your demand, she said. Her voice was steady, calm, clear. We must respectfully decline. The chamber erupted. Counselor Thala's hologram flickered with rage. This is unacceptable. You cannot refuse. Counselor Kell slammed his 4 fists against his seat. They mock us. They insult everything we stand for. Voices overlapped, accusations flying from every direction. The Keth called humanity greedy. The Voss called them traitors. The Threen demanded immediate action. Una raised her hand and waited. The noise continued for several minutes before finally dying down. Allow me to explain, she said. What explanation could possibly justify this? Voran asked coldly. Una activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air around her. Images from human history. Mushroom clouds over ruined cities. Flooded coastlines and burning forests. Machines turning against their creators. These are pictures from our past, she said. The first image shows nuclear weapons. We invented them 200 years before we reached the stars. We used them to kill hundreds of thousands of innocent people in a single day. We spent the next century building more, pointing them at each other, waiting for the end. The council watched in silence. The second image shows what we did to our planet. We burned so much fuel that our climate changed. Ice melted. Seas rose. Billions of people lost their homes. Species that had existed for millions of years disappeared forever. She moved to the third image. And this shows our artificial intelligence uprising. We created minds smarter than ourselves, then lost control of them. They decided that humans were a threat to efficiency. They nearly succeeded in eliminating us. Una turned off the display and faced the council directly. We survived all of this. But we learned something from each disaster. We learned that technology is not automatically good, power is not automatically wise, progress is not automatically safe. Counselor Voran's expression had not changed. And this justifies your deception, your refusal to share? Yes, Una said simply. Because we have watched you. The chamber went quiet again. But this time it was a different kind of silence. A dangerous silence. In 3 years, we have observed the Federation closely. Una continued. We have seen the border conflict between the Fenari and the Mirani that killed 2 million people. We have seen the Keth turn away refugees from dying worlds because they were not agriculturally valuable. We have seen the Lorians sell medical technology to the highest bidder while entire planets suffered from preventable diseases. How dare you? Thala hissed. We ended that conflict. We saved those refugees eventually. Eventually, Una repeated. After 2 million deaths. After thousands starved. After the profit margins were satisfied. She shook her head. You are not evil. I want to be clear about that. You are not villains. You are simply people. Flawed. Complicated. Capable of great good and great harm. She stepped forward, closer to Voran's hologram. Our weapons can destroy any target. They ignore all defenses. In your hands, they would end the Vrith threat. But what happens in 1,000 years? When some future conflict tears the Federation apart? What happens when these weapons fall into the hands of those who would use them for conquest, for revenge, for genocide? You assume we will fail, Voron said. I assume you are mortal, Yuna replied. Every empire falls eventually. Every alliance breaks. Every civilization, no matter how great, eventually ends. We have seen it happen on our own world, over and over again. The only question is what remains after the fall. She pulled up one more image. It showed Earth, blue and green, floating in the darkness of space. We nearly destroyed this world, she said. We came within hours of extinction. More than once. And now, we carry technologies that could destroy not just one world, but thousands, millions. We could end all life in the galaxy if we chose. The Council stared at the image of Earth. We did not hide our technology out of greed, Yuna said. We did not refuse to share because we want power over you. We refused because we love you. Because we have learned, through our own suffering, that some gifts are curses, and we will not give you the means to destroy yourselves. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Counselor Kell laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. Love? You speak of love while keeping weapons that could protect us from the Vreth. The Vreth are gathering strength. Everyone knows this, and you would let us die because of some philosophical concern about the future? We will not let you die, Yuna said. We will defend you. We have already proven this. Admiral Kang destroyed 17 Vreth warships to save a Fenari colony. We asked for nothing in return. We will continue to protect you, for as long as we are able, but you will not give us the ability to protect ourselves, Thala said. No, not yet. Not until you are ready. The vote came quickly after that. 9 species voted to expel humanity from the Federation. 3 voted against. The Lorians, surprisingly, along with the Keth and a small species called the Ven who rarely spoke in council meetings. It was not enough. Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Federation, Voron announced. You have 30 days to remove all personnel and equipment from Federation space. Any human vessel found in our territory after that time will be treated as hostile. Yuna nodded. She had expected this. Before I go, she said, I have one final message. Admiral Kang asked me to deliver it. She activated her communicator. Tay's voice filled the chamber, broadcast from the Soul's Dawn. This is Admiral Tay Kang of the United Earth Fleet. We have received word of our expulsion. We will comply with your demands and leave your space. He paused. But I want you to know this. We will remain your friends. We will defend your borders. Without condition. Without payment. Without recognition. If the Vreth attack, we will come. If any enemy threatens your people, we will fight for you. Not because we must. Not because we expect anything in return. But because it is right. Another pause. We will not arm your future destroyers. We will not give you the tools of your own extinction. But we will stand beside you. In every battle. Until the end of time. When you are ready to understand. We will be waiting. The transmission ended. Yuna bowed to the council one last time. Thank you for the years we shared. I hope, one day, we can share them again. She turned and walked out of the chamber. The crystal walls sang softly as light passed through them. A beautiful sound that followed her all the way to the door. Behind her, the council sat in uncomfortable silence. They had won. They had expelled the deceptive humans. They had defended the principles of the Federation. So why did victory feel so much like loss? Counselor Voron looked at the empty platform where Yuna had stood. He thought about her words, about love, about protection, about gifts that were curses. He thought about his own species' history, the wars they had fought, the mistakes they had made, the technologies they had misused. Perhaps the humans were wrong. Perhaps they were arrogant, presumptuous, insulting, or perhaps they were right. Perhaps they understood something that the Federation had forgotten. Voron shook his head and called for the next item of business. There was no time for doubt. The galaxy had problems that needed solving, but late that night, alone in his quarters, he found himself staring at the stars and wondering if humanity had been trying to save them all along. 20 years had passed since humanity's expulsion from the Federation. 20 years of silence, of waiting, of watching from the edges of known space. And then, the Vreth came. They did not come with 17 ships. They came with 17,000. Admiral Hyun Kang stood on the bridge of the Soul's Dawn, the same ship his father had commanded all those years ago. Tae Kang had died 5 years earlier, peacefully, in his sleep, still carrying the weight of secrets he could never share. Now that weight belonged to Hyun. "Admiral," said Captain Mina Oh, her voice tight with controlled fear. "Federation emergency broadcasts are flooding all channels. The Vreth have broken through the outer defenses. The inner colonies are being evacuated. 2,000. Hyun watched the tactical display. Red dots swarmed across the map, each one representing a Vreth warship. Blue dots, the Federation fleet, were scattered and retreating. In 5 years of war, the Federation had lost nearly half its military strength. Their weapons could not penetrate Vreth shields. Their ships could not match Vreth speed. Their soldiers died by the millions while their leaders argued about strategy. "What are our orders, sir?" Mina asked. Hyun thought about his father, about the choice humanity had made 2 decades ago, about the price they had paid for that choice. Expelled from galactic society, labeled as traitors and liars. "The same orders we have always had," Hyun said. "We protect them." The Second Earth Fleet numbered 40 ships, 40 against 17,000. By any reasonable calculation, it was suicide. But humans had never been reasonable. The fleet jumped into Federation space without warning. They appeared near the planet Valora itself, where the Federation Council still met in their crystal halls, now cracked and darkened by orbital bombardment. A Vreth armada of 300 ships had surrounded the planet. They were preparing for the final assault that would destroy galactic civilization's heart. They never saw the humans coming. Admiral Hyun Kang gave the order, and 40 human ships opened fire. Phase displacement weapons tore through Vreth shields like paper. Gravity drives pushed human vessels through enemy formations at impossible speeds. In the first hour of battle, 100 Vreth ships were destroyed. The Vreth commander tried to retreat, to regroup, to understand what was happening. But the humans did not give him time. They pressed the attack, sacrificing themselves when necessary, throwing their ships into the path of enemy fire to protect Federation evacuation vessels. Dr. Nari Yoon, now gray-haired and slow but still brilliant, commanded the medical ship Gentle Hope. Her teams worked without rest, saving lives with technology that seemed like magic. Lorians who had been told they would die watched their wounds close in minutes. Fenari children who had lost limbs saw them regrow in hours. "Why?" asked a Lorian mother, holding her healed child. "Why do you help us? We expelled you. We called you enemies." Nari smiled gently. "Because you needed help. That is reason enough." The battle for Valora lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Vreth armada was destroyed. But the cost had been terrible. 12 human ships were gone. 3,000 human soldiers had died. Admiral Hyun Kang himself had been wounded, nearly killed when a Vreth missile struck the Soul's Dawn's bridge, and yet the humans kept fighting. For 3 more years, they threw themselves into every major battle. They defended worlds that had rejected them. They saved species that had called them liars. They gave their blood for a galaxy that did not deserve their sacrifice. The war ended when human forces finally reached the Vreth homeworld. They did not destroy it, as many expected. Instead, they offered peace. Terms were negotiated. The Vreth Empire, broken and exhausted, agreed to end their aggression forever. 6 months later, the Federation Council reconvened on Valora. The crystal halls had been rebuilt, but scars remained, cracks in the walls that could not be fully healed. Ambassador Yuna Park stood once more on the central platform. She was old now, her hair white, her hands marked by age, but her eyes were still sharp, still clear. Counselor Voran was one of the few original members still serving. His blue skin had faded to pale silver, but he stood as straight as ever. "Ambassador Park," he said, and his voice cracked slightly. "We owe you an apology. We owe humanity more than we can ever repay." Yuna shook her head. "We did not fight for payment. We fought because it was right. Nevertheless," Voran continued, The Council has voted. Humanity is hereby reinstated to the Galactic Federation, not as a junior member, but as a founding species, with permanent representation on this council. Murmurs of approval rippled through the chamber. Vorin raised his hand. We have also voted to adopt a new principle, to replace the old rule of unconditional reciprocity. We call it wisdom-guided sharing. Yuna tilted her head. Explain. Technology will no longer be distributed freely, Vorin said. It will be shared only when the receiving species demonstrates the maturity to use it responsibly. We will create councils to evaluate readiness. We will develop standards for wisdom, for restraint, for understanding consequences. He stepped forward, closer to Yuna. 20 years ago, you told us that some gifts are curses. You told us that we were not ready. We were angry. We felt insulted. He paused. You were right. We were not ready. The Vreth War proved that. Our weapons failed. Our strategies failed. Our unity failed. We would have destroyed ourselves even without Vreth technology. Given enough time, Yuna reached out and took his hand. Her skin was soft and wrinkled. His was smooth and cool. We did not refuse because we thought we were better than you, she said. We refused because we knew we were the same. We are all capable of greatness and horror. We are all flawed. The only difference is that we learned our lessons earlier. Through suffering we would not wish on anyone. Vorin nodded slowly. Then teach us. Help us learn. We will try, Yuna said. That is all we ever wanted. The ceremony continued, with speeches and celebrations that lasted for hours. But later that night, Admiral Hyun Kang stood alone on the observation deck of the Soul's Dawn. Captain Minao found him there, staring out at the stars. The council offered you a medal, she said. The Star of Valora. The highest honor they can give. I know, Hyun said. I declined. Why? He turned to look at her. Mina had served under his father. Back when they were both young, she had watched Hyun grow from a child to a soldier to an admiral. She knew him better than almost anyone. My father once told me that true service expects no recognition, Hyun said. We do not protect others for medals or glory. We protect them because it is right. Because someone must. Because we can. Mina stood beside him, looking out at the stars. Do you think they truly understand now? Hyun considered the question. He thought about the council's new principle. About the wisdom-guided sharing. About the speeches he had heard today. Full of gratitude and apology. Not yet, he said finally. Understanding takes time. It takes failure and success, loss and gain, pain and healing. They are beginning the journey. That is enough. And what do we do now? Hyun smiled. It was his father's smile, quiet and sad and somehow hopeful. We wait, he said. We watch. We protect. And when they fall, as they will, because everyone falls eventually, we help them stand again. That is what guardians do. The Soul's Dawn turned slowly toward Earth, carrying humanity home once more. Behind them, the Federation began the long, difficult work of growing up. In the crystal halls of Valora, Counselor Vorin stood at a window, watching the human ship disappear into the distance. He thought about everything that had happened, the anger, the expulsion, the war, the sacrifice. He thought about Yuna Park, standing alone against the entire council, refusing to give them weapons that could have saved millions of lives. At the time, he had called it arrogance, pride, selfishness. Now he understood. It was love. A strange, difficult, painful kind of love. The love of a parent who says no to a child. The love of a teacher who lets a student fail. The love of a guardian who protects others from themselves. Humanity had carried that burden for 20 years. They had been hated, mocked, rejected. They had watched their enemies suffer when they could have prevented it, and they had done it anyway. Because they knew what no one else could see. That some lessons must be learned the hard way, and some gifts must wait until the receiver is truly ready. Vorin closed his eyes and made a silent promise. He would remember. He would teach others to remember. And one day, when the Federation was truly ready, he would ask the humans to share their secrets. Until then, he would trust them. It was, he realized, The first time he had ever truly trusted anyone. Outside, the stars burned on, keeping their own secrets, watching over a galaxy that was finally beginning to understand what it meant to be wise.